Welcome everyone to your Sales Cookie admin training. As you know, you've selected Sales Cookie to reduce your administrative overhead, get rid of disparate commission spreadsheets, run calculations in one shot, and provide real-time dashboard access to your reps. So let's talk through some key automation concepts before we get further into the admin training. And this document is actually accessible to you under our help desk. If you just search on admin training or agenda, it's going to pop right up. And all of these key concepts are hyperlinked. So if you wanted more information, all of that's available. A plan is a way to pay commissions. We run a calculation for a plan for a given period using transactions, which means any commissionable event. It could be closed-won deals, it could be invoices. Alias is a way to credit a user, for example, an employee ID or an email or a full name of a user to make sure they get credited for all their transactions. Tagging is very important and useful. So for example, I have an account exec plan. I can just tag all my AEs with the AE tag, so I'm not having to enter 20 users into a plan. They just have this tag and now they're part of that plan automatically. Crediting allows for attribution of transactions to a user or a team, whereas a reward is a commission payout, typically monetary but doesn't have to be. Custom variables is a time-dependent input on a user, team's plans, and just to show you the link, here's pretty easy. It's example, a monthly quota that you can provide a value to and put a time dependency on when that quota applies for. Formulas is obviously a way for us to process your commission rules, calculation stages. So this is really important. And I won't go through the whole article, but just to give you a feel for, we've broken down every component of a commission calculation, all the way from filtering sales to making sure we're using the right crediting metric, whether it's revenue, profit, or score, to crediting the right user or team, determining attainment, and then obviously calculating and paying out commissions. So you can also have this concept of an estimated commission. For example, if you want to show your reps ahead of time what they could earn in terms of closed opportunities versus earned commission, meaning when you get paid, you pay them. And then this concept of typically the same target and beneficiary would be the same. For example, for an account exec plan, they're the same, but say you have a manager roll-up plan. In this case, the targets might be AEs, but the beneficiary of that manager plan is obviously the manager they report into. So let's pivot into the solution. So your reps will only have access to their own account information and their own incentive dashboard, and that access is all read-only. Whereas as an admin, you can manage and view your users, set up teams, review plans, run calculations, look at transactions. So let's start off with looking at all plans, and in most likelihood our technical team has actually helped you set up your plan. So you can go into any plan, go to the review tab, and under plan summary you can click here to download, and this is a quick back of the napkin description for yourself as an admin. Okay, what is this plan doing? It has these 4 attainment levels, who does it apply to, and so forth. So I find this pretty useful. Or if you have a number of plans, you can just go to settings, go to tools, and scroll down to export all plans and use that tool, and then it's going to give you a download of all your plans, not just one plan description. So that's a good way to look at it. But from a day-to-day perspective, and I'm just going to pivot back to showing you really the most important workflow for you within Sales Cookie is running a calculation, auditing that calculation, and then releasing that calculation. So today's training, I'm focusing the bulk of my time on those 3 key items. So I'm under calculations, all calculations. I'm going to start a calculation. So let's say we want to run the one-off sales contest. I'm going to pick Q1 of 2021. So I'm just going to choose that time frame that I want. And I'm going to name this calculation, say Q1 2021. I'm going to hit calculate, and obviously this is an active period because I'm running it on February 28th. So let's go look at that calculation. So as you can see, we are in step 1 out of 3. We've run a calculation. Nothing is yet visible to our reps or payees. Step 2 would be when we're comfortable as an admin, we can release credits so the rep can see their closed opportunities, what business they brought in, what invoices they might be associated with, whatever your source transactions are, and they can have an estimated or pending payout. And then finally would be step 3. At the end of the period, you're going to release rewards, which commits the company to now paying out those commission payouts or rewards to the reps. So the system tells you, I'm in step 1, we've only run it manually. You can see some summary information right here. And then as an admin, I'm just going to expand this for your benefit, I can go through one by one within the solutions. I can click on Danielle and see all the transactions he got credited with. I can review that one by one, but obviously when you have 20, 30, 100 reps, we don't want to go through individually review it. What I find useful is to export all credited fields, and it's going to pop up in a minute. So let's do that again, and right there. So the first time you are reviewing your commission calculations, I definitely recommend using the export credit feature. Export everything out, and then now this shows you how did sales cookie take every transaction in your data, track all the information, who's the customer, what's the product, what's the credited user, a team, what's the dollar amount, what's the commission payout, what level is it at. So this is a really good document to audit the first time your calculations are set up to make sure that the system is correctly crediting it. And similarly on the rewards, in this case it's a pretty simple setup, that is, they have to have a minimum revenue threshold of 4,000 before they get any payout. So I can review it either within the application, or I can export the reward details and see the breakdown if there were multiple attainment levels. So all of that's accessible to you. And same thing, the highest level reporting is the payout. This is essentially what you're giving to your payroll person to say, once you're happy at the end of the period, these are the 3 beneficiaries of this Q1 one-off sales contest. So sales gets, Sam will earn $69 and so forth. So within the calculation, we can review the crediting detail and the rewards detail, the payouts detail, all from within the summary page, or I can tab over to those. I always recommend also looking at the alerts tab, because that's important in case there were any systematic errors. For example, say you had a new manager or user within the company, but they're not a rep or a user within Sales Cookie. This would tell you saying, hey, we see Jane Doe in your data. We don't know how to credit because that's either not an active user, or we don't have the right alias, or whatever that might be. So alerts is really important. And then once you're comfortable, you can actually work with the Sales Cookie team, or you can set up individual automation. Or what I recommend is really, once you've tested it, you're going to go down to advanced, click on manage settings, and essentially you're going to choose the first 2 options to say, okay, auto run my calculation, especially if your data is coming in with, say, HubSpot, QuickBooks, Salesforce, any of our native things where we're pulling in data every hour. You don't even, as an admin, have to run a calculation manually. You can auto run it, meaning it runs once every 24 hours, and it will auto release credits. So your reps can log in the next day and see, great, I got credited with one more deal I closed yesterday. And as an admin, you don't need to log in, say, for another week while the period's going on. So this is what I recommend once you're comfortable with your calculations. But let's go back in there. So we were in that one-off sales contest. As you can see, we're still under step 1. If we want to release credits, it's as simple as doing that. You can notify your reps if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And I remember, releasing credits just shows them their pending payout, whereas releasing rewards is actually now committing the company to paying out those commissions. So this was, if you remember, for a Q1 one-off sales contest, and you can pick and choose. Do you want to pay period end? Do you want to pay period end plus 2 weeks? And we normally recommend that the release date match the actual date. Your reps would get their payout in their bank or through a paycheck, whatever that might be. And again, you have the option to notify all your beneficiaries, or you don't. It's really up to you. You release rewards, and now you're going to see that status change. It shows you that it's been released. But again, say you're just, you're new to Sales Cookie and you realize, whoops, we actually closed it too early because we're only 2 months into 3 months. You can go back and rerun it the system's going to ask you, yep, delete the old one. You want to run it again? Exactly. Now it's back to status of being in a draft where you haven't yet released even the credits or the rewards to your reps. So the couple of things to watch out for is, say I just ran it and then somebody else in your company is also an admin and they come in and they want to run the same exact calculation. So let's say I'm going to select one-off sales contest. I'm going to pick the same time period, Q1 2021, and let's see what happens. It's going to tell me that there's already a duplicate calculation for this range. But as we give you the authority as an admin to duplicate a transaction if you really wanted to, but right there you see now we have a potential issue in this purple bar that tells me something. So if you ever see a purple bar, you want to look in there and see, okay, do I have a duplicate transaction? Do I have some overlapping? Do I have a calculation gap? And right there it tells us, hey, admin, you have two calculations with the same time period for the same plan. So what do we want to do? We actually really want to delete one of these so we're not having to duplicate the same information. And in the end, if you still choose to ignore that system alert, what would happen is if you release that first one-off sales contest and you try to release the second one-off sales contest, the system will stop you from double paying. It will actually negate or it will deduct back what you've already paid in that first. But normally we just recommend, the easiest is rerun in place. If I want to go back in, I can just select run again. It's going to ask me to delete the prior calculation, which in most cases you don't need to have a version for every day. You just hit calculate, boom, now it's replaced my last calculation. Or like I showed you, if it's automated, it's going to automatically run every day and auto release credits. Or say I have a manual data upload, I want to run these manually. You can select multiple calculations and I can hit rerun or delete, whatever I want to do. So you can pick and choose how you want to manage things. So let's go back to our agenda. Make sure, how are we tracking? I'm going to close out a couple of these things. So I think we walked through how to run a calculation, how to audit a calculation, and then how to release a calculation. So that really, in a nutshell, is your most primary important job as an admin. And then kind of behind the scenes, if you wanted to go, say, audit a calculation or audit a transaction, we can do that. We can go search on a specific transaction. So say I'm looking for a customer with pastry or the product that contains lemon. That's where you see right now. I can change it to, say, chocolate chips, whatever that might be. So this is an example of how you can search through data. If you know a specific ID, that's another way to look up transactions, but pretty easy. Or I can actually go click on a specific transaction and then you'll see you have these multiple tabs. So it tells me for this one particular transaction where that particular transaction has already been credited to. So it tells me it's part of the sample calculation of December 2020 and another December 2020 calculation. And then it shows me a commission on who got paid what. So I did that all by looking at an individual transaction. If you had the order ID or however you want to research it, that's an example. For example, now if you wanted to make so let's go back to our one-off sales contest that we had just run, and say you looked at the rewards and you say, okay, I want to do a positive or negative adjustment. You can either do it within the existing calculation, so I can go edit a system generated reward, or what I normally recommend is doing a manual. So, and if you do a drop down, it's going to show you, okay, we want to give Daniel, he did a great job helping and another manager, whatever that might be, and I select to give him or her $100 cash reward. It's going to show up on their statement, and you as well know that you've given this man a if statement, and if you were to rerun this calculation, the system's going to ask you, do you want to keep track of that or carry it forward? And in most cases the answer would be a yes. So you can make a manual adjustment from within the calculation, you can make that adjustment from within a transaction, you can even do it from an incentive dashboard of a user. So all of that's pretty easy. The last couple things I want to just show you is you can go into settings and go down to tools, or you can go through an individual user and say I want to look at an individual user. Here you can now see their alias, you can see what team they're part of, what their custom quota is. So if you want to do a one-off change on a metric, you can obviously do it within a user, or we can go down to settings and go all the way down to our tools and do a bulk change to a user. So that's pretty much it. Same thing on setting up teams. You can set up a team. If we want to look at reporting as an admin, you have a lot of different options. So out of the box, you have 20 plus reports, all commission focused and payout, crediting, attainment. If there are certain reports, so let's just pick one, say I want to look at the payout by beneficiary. Boom, I like that report. I can look at it in a variety of data ways. I publish it, now it's going to be on my dashboard. So ton of reporting available to you. And if you want to do a rep survey, you have that option. You want to look at revenue analytics, that's a beta feature. If you want to natively sync out to Excel, Power BI, Tableau to do additional reporting, all of that's available to you. So I hope that was helpful. Any questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out to your Sales Cookie team. And thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.